it's really important to have people around you that believe in you, that know that you can do it. And Michael and I had this funny dynamic where, and I have this with some of my friends, it's so interesting, where we're in different places. So if I'm saying, I don't think I can do this, then Michael or my friend Linda or my friend Lorraine will say, you just haven't done it yet. And when you asked me before we started the recording for the podcast if I'd been to Vietnam, my answer was not yet. Not yet. I didn't say no, I said not yet. Because holding out possibilities for yourself is an important aspect of having a mindset of growth and vibrancy. And, you know, not knowing how you're going to do something doesn't mean you can't do it.
Colleagues who disagree with me, you know, that and who give pushback. You know, the one of the best things about working with Jeff and Andy, and there's a monthly live stream I host along with the two of them and Amanda McCulloch. Amanda is the executive director of the Data Visualization Society. Is we don't agree on everything, and but we will debate these things and say, well, here's why I feel differently about this, and force me to reconsider and go, you know what, that's a really valid point. I hadn't considered that before. So the growth comes from keeping an open mind and just kind of recognizing when being closed to these things have harmed me. You know, that I think I was much less flexible and more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Intractable 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I thought I had all the answers, and no, I don't. You know, so you want good colleagues who will give you pushback, and you want people to find the flaws. You want people to find the errors. There's a really good quote at the end of the book, "Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me." I'm sorry, I can't remember who the authors are, but it's going to take too long. I almost know certainly where the book is right behind me and can probably find the quote, but essentially it is saying, you know, the people who point out your flaws or the things, they're your most they're greatest benefactors. They're helping you grow. They're helping you get better.
Exposing yourself to radically different ideas is helpful. And a case study I read that kind of spells this out for me is, there's a few. One is there was a hospital where they were having lots of problems when a patient came in for surgery, kind of going from the nurse to the doctor, back to the nurse. They were messing things up, and so they'd take the patient, they go from one room to the next, they'd leave stuff in the patient, they'd have all these problems and infections, and they thought, like, how can we think about changing this? And what they did is they wound up going and bringing a Formula One racing pit crew in. And they had the pit crew evaluate what they were doing, because in a pit crew, like in these races, the car comes in, you have no time at all to get all the tires off, get the car ready, get it back out there. And if you make a mistake, the car's going to crash. Yeah. And in the hospital, they're doing all these handoffs between different doctors and nurses, and they were messing things up. And by looking at how the pit crew did their work and having the pit crew look at how they did work, they brought in these outside ideas that let them think differently and greatly reduce the number of accidents that happen in their hospital. And I think looking outside what you're doing is really important. I know in our area, one of the first banks to be really consumer friendly was Commerce Bank. And what their CEO said is, I'm not looking at other banks. Consumers don't say, this is a bank, that's how they should be. I'm looking at Target, I'm looking at Starbucks, I'm looking at all the companies that consumers love interacting with and saying, how can I be at that level?
Diana, how have you been expanding your ability to think?
I think that the most frequent way is reading. The more you read, the more you start to ask yourself important, provocative questions like, is this true? How do I know it's true? What other conclusion could I come to besides the conclusion this author is trying to lead me to? What's fact and what's opinion? Just as you read, it improves your thinking process. A second way, other than just reading, I think, is to go to very smart people and ask them questions about what you intend to do, your plan. I wrote a blog once on thinking, how to think better, and one of the points in that was to pretend that you have a board of directors. You may literally have a board of directors to go to, but if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have or you're just starting out and you don't have this group of people, imagine you did. Imagine you were on the board of directors. When somebody would present an idea to you, what would you ask them? What would you ask them about their financing? What would you ask them about their staff? What would you want to know about their plans in the future? What would you want to know about their marketing? If you would think like an advisor and think like you're a person, if you're starting a new project or product or service, what would a board of directors ask me? And then prepare yourself. That helps you to think through any kind of project, any kind of plan that you want to do, even if it's financial planning for your family or planning how to build character into your kids. That thought process comes from reading in many subject areas and applying maybe in different ways, but it also comes from your ability to listen to good advice and listen to feedback and apply it in your situation.
So we think that we have to play the game using the rules that are set out for us. And all along the way, we are discouraged and dissuaded from thinking differently, thinking critically, because if we do so, we step out of line, we step out of that, away from the group thing. And so leaders like me and others that are coming out of the woodwork are examples of where we've challenged the system at every level, educational, religion, workforce. And it's those types of people that shift the narrative, because it's almost like they've taken the blue pill from the Matrix and they can see the whole system, whereas most of us don't want to take that pill because the fear of the unknown is the thing that keeps us in prison. So for me, it all comes back to celebrating and creating the environment for divergent thinking right from the start of our journey on this planet.
Very first chapter that I wrote of the book, and it's all about the science of the heart and how we have for hundreds of years believed that the brain is where all of our cognitive activity is, and that the heart was just a pump. And now we're learning not just that the heart is intelligence, but that our entire body there's something called interoception, which by the way, I did not write about, but it's emerging now. So since my book came out just a few months ago, there's 2 authors that are writing about this. And it's feelings and intelligence that's happening in our bodies, and that our bodies are sensing information. They're sensing things that are going to happen without them happening yet. We have this, it's like a 8th sense, if you will. It's like even deeper than an intuition. It's informed, and it's coming from our body. And I believe that the heart is part of this, very much so. And so, where does that come from? What is that intelligence? Is that spiritual intelligence? I don't know. But what we know is that it exists, and we know that if you tap into it, and we, by the way, know that Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs and the founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, that they repeatedly say that they will be presented with data but then make decisions based on a feeling. Well, what's that? Right? So it's the chapter that I'm proudest of besides the preface, simply because no one's ever put these pieces together. I went outside of leadership, traditional leadership books, and went to cardiosurgery and heart science and put these pieces together. And I'm proud of it, because everybody continues to talk about, now we're talking about heart-led leadership, and they're just talking about it metaphorically. And I'm saying, no, it's not a metaphor. It's real, it's science. And if you understand that, it becomes easier to embrace than just a metaphor.